Warning: this story includes intense themes, so if you are faint of heart, you should watch something else. I, male 26, beat the heck out of my sister, female 23, for sexually harassing my boyfriend. 25 meters. I can finally talk about this because all the legal proceedings have been dealt with. So I've been dating my boyfriend Mark for about 5 years. He's the best thing that has ever happened to me. He's kind, smart, understanding, and absolutely beautiful. When we started dating, he was a bit closed off and was afraid to initiate any form of intimacy. I at first thought it was because I was his first relationship and maybe he was nervous. 6 months into us dating, he tells me that between the ages of 5 and 12 he was sexually assaulted and arped by his mother. His father left when he was around 4. It fricked him up in the head for a while, and when it got out, his mother was arrested and he and his 2 older sisters were put in the custody of their grandparents, who they lived with ever since. He was placed in intensive therapy and still goes to this day. He's come a long way and has healed a lot, but he still has some days when he gets really depressed and cries. Part of his therapy was exercising. So about 2 years ago he and I started doing some bodybuilding workouts. I toned up a lot, put 20 extra pounds of muscle on, and he toned up a bit. Because we've been dating for so long and have marriage in mind, he told my family, a less detailed version, and they welcomed him with love and support. Now for my sister Sally, I've suspected she's had a bit of a crush on him. She'll flirt sometimes here and there, but he never reciprocated and usually ignored her. I've talked to her about it so many times, but she didn't listen. To make a long story short, I had gone out one set afternoon with some friends to get some drinks and left Mark behind because he didn't feel like going. My sister had texted me prior to asking if she could borrow a few things from me, a sweatshirt, DSLR camera, and a third thing that doesn't come to mind at the moment. I said sure and to get it whenever. She went when I was out, unknowingly. When I came home I found my boyfriend on the ground crying his eyes out and my sister trying to calm him down. He was having a panic attack. It's never safe to touch him when he has an episode because he may act out violently due to his headspace. Her hands were all over him and he was trying to push her away. Her shirt was also on the ground and she was only in her bra. I tore her away and asked what the frick she was doing. She said that she was trying on the sweatshirt when he walked in on her, freaked out and went into an episode. However, Mark through his tears said she tried to touch him. I asked my sister if it was true and she said no, but Mark again said she tried to touch him. We have cameras in the house and I pointed it out to my sister. Her face went white and I don't know what came over me, but I saw red. I can't remember much because I was so angry, but I beat the poop out of her. I can't even remember if I was the one who called 911 or her through her beat up state. I do remember kind of snapping out of it because Mark was still going through his episode and I could cry louder and I had to help him through it. It's all a haze. I broke my sister's nose, gave her a black eye and bruised her ribs. She was in the hospital for a few days. Update: a lot of people messaged me to ask about context from my last post. 1. This all happened right before COVID hit, the end of 2019, and everything was just settled this last month. 2. The incident happened in our kitchen. The front door leads down a hall directly to our open kitchen, and to the right is our living room that leads to the bedrooms. 3. We have cameras in every room but the bathrooms and bedrooms because we have a Great Dane named Butler. He's black and has a white oval patch from his chest to his tummy. He looks like a butler who likes to get into everything, so we set up cameras to keep an eye on him while we're out. The cameras don't have sound recording. 4. My sister didn't rape Mark, but she did try to coerce him into sexual activities. 5. My sister didn't know I was out when she came over. I don't have the recording anymore. It was too painful to keep, let alone watch. Also, my memory of the whole thing is hazy, but the tape showed Mark answering the door. Again, our cameras don't have sound recording, but Mark said that when he answered the door she told him that she was there to get my camera and sweatshirt. He said okay and let her in. He was watching the television, so he went back to his show while she walked into our room. She called out to him for help and the cameras showed Mark getting up to help her. I don't remember how long they were in there, but the tape showed Mark rush out of the room while holding his hands out as if trying to stop an attacker. My sister then emerged half naked while holding onto her shirt. Mark backed up into the kitchen still holding his hand out as she advanced towards him. Mark said he was telling her to put her shirt on and to leave, but she kept saying something along the lines of, "Hey, it's okay. I just need some help, that's all. And you're a nice guy, just help me out a little." I think by that point he was declining into a panic attack as he started shaking. My sister took that opportunity to hug him. She said she did it to try and calm him down, but the tape showed her kind of grinding up on him. He pushed her away and fell to the ground crying and screaming. She then got down by him and was trying to wave her hands through his hair. Her other hand was also moving up towards his crotch. I remember from the tape seeing Mark flinch backwards and try to push her away. She always moved back closer to him. A few minutes later is when I got home and beat her to an inch of her life. I can't remember who called the police, but the police had showed up and my sister limped to the door while I was trying to help Mark calm down. I kind of remember them asking questions and trying to help Mark calm down. They thought he was going into shock, so they put a blanket over him and the paramedics came. My sister was quickly evaluated and then brought to the hospital. Mark and I stayed behind because by that point he had started to regain control again. I remember my parents showing up and asking what happened. I told them everything. My mom stayed with Mark and I while my dad drove to the hospital to see my sister. Mark and I pressed charges on my sister, emotional trauma and sexual battery, class A1 felony where I'm from. My sister tried to sue me, a misdemeanor charge, but it fell through. With the evidence we had, my sister was sentenced to 60 days of incarceration with a bond of $5,000. No one paid. She also has to serve 200 hours of community service and her name was added to a SX offender registry. She can appeal to the courts to have it removed after 10 years. She was also placed under a restraining order. On top of that, my sister owes us $25,000. I got a small slap on the wrist and have to do 50 hours of community service. Nothing too bad. My sister was cut off from the entire family and still is. Mark regressed tremendously, to the point that he couldn't sleep in the same bed as me for months. He was required to go into even more extensive therapy. He's come a bit ways, but nowhere like he was before it happened. It will take a long time for him to heal. I consider myself bisexual, but I lean more towards men while Mark is percentone 100 gay. He finds the female body disturbing, to the point that we have had to skip over full female nudity scenes in movies. My sister knew of this. When I asked her why she would do this, she said that she thought she could change his mind. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm also not sorry. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my Sil the truth about my brother and my husband? I, female 29, have a husband named Matt, male 32, and an older brother named Tony, 32 meters. Tony has a wife named Anna, 33F. Tony and I both went to boarding school growing up. I went to an all-girls school and he went to an all-boys school across the country. Because of the distance, we weren't very close as kids and I didn't know much about his life back then. When Tony was at boarding school, he met my future husband Matt and they became best friends. At the time, Tony was dealing with depression about his sexuality and Matt helped him out of it. Long story short, they ended up falling in love and having a relationship. Once they graduated high school, they broke up and lost touch. I didn't know about any of this at the time. I ended up going to the same university as Matt, which is where I met him. I didn't mention my brother initially because he wasn't really a part of my life, and since Tony and I have different last names, the three of us didn't put the pieces together until a family gathering a year later. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough at first for everyone involved, but eventually we were all able to get past it and Tony and Matt became best friends again. Matt and I got married 3 years ago. When I met Tony's partner Anna for the first time, I privately asked Tony if he told her about his history with Matt. Tony said it was still a new relationship and he would tell her when they were more serious. Now Tony and Anna are married. Since Tony and Matt are so close, they often go on boys' trips with just the two of them. They took one of these trips this past weekend and everything was going fine until I got a call from Anna asking if I knew where Tony was. Apparently he told her he was going to see our parents, but she called them and he wasn't there. I told her that he was on a trip with Matt. She got upset and asked me if there was something going on between them. Thinking she already knew because she and Tony are now married, I told her not to worry because Matt and Tony's romance ended in high school. That's when I found out Tony never told her. Tony was furious at me when he got back because Anna is threatening divorce and I'm tearing up his family because I told her without asking him first. Apparently Tony didn't tell Anna the truth because he thought she wouldn't let him see Matt anymore, and now Anna wants him to cut me and Matt out completely. Matt is upset too because he can't see Tony and he's losing his best friend all over again. My brother wants to cut me out of his life, his wife wants a divorce, and my husband is miserable, all because of something I said. I feel so guilty and can't help but feel as though I messed up. Am I the idiot? Edit. I really appreciate everyone's comments. Some of them are very hard to read, but I suppose this is a wake-up call that's long overdue. I know it may seem difficult to believe that someone my age can be so naive and clueless, but being rational is something I've always struggled with. I wish it were fake. I'm realizing that this is most likely far worse than I thought it was. I won't be able to respond to individual comments for a bit, but I am reading all of them in the meantime and will post an update when I can. Edit 2. I've seen a lot of comments asking why I didn't say anything about the trip sooner, what I thought they were doing, so I'll just answer here for the sake of convenience. My brother has been struggling with pretty severe depression for the past few years. Because of this, he doesn't go out much or have many friends. My husband is his only close friend and the only one Tony will open up to because my husband helped him through depression when they were younger. The outings with Matt are one of the few things that make my brother happy. Matt always told me they do regular things like play video games and watch movies and go biking, so I didn't think too much into it. Even with Matt being Tony's ex, I thought it was more like Matt was helping his friend through a tough time. I see now how stupid I was to assume that, but that was my thought process. Edit 3. Please don't let this post be a justification for biphobia. Whatever happens with my brother and my husband isn't reflective of gay, bi people as a whole. Edit 4. Last edit. Wow, I stepped away for a bit and there are a ton of comments. I won't be able to respond individually as there's a lot going on right now, clearly, but I'll still be reading. Before I sign off, I have a couple quick updates. Matt agreed to tell me everything after I've given him some time and space to process all of this. As much as I, and probably you all, want answers now, that's what I'll be doing. Still no word from brother or sister-in-law. I'm going to give it a rest for the day and try to focus on something that doesn't terrify me. I will be back with a separate update post when things make more sense. Thank you all. Also, I have seen Brokeback Mountain. Evidently, it's a lot more fun on screen than it is in real life. Update. After I gave my husband space, I confronted him about his trips with my brother. He agreed to be honest with me about their relationship. As some of you suspected, Matt knew when we first met that I was Tony's sister and started dating me to get close to Tony again. He claimed that in the first year of our relationship, before he reunited with Tony, he genuinely fell in love with me. When Tony saw us together, he admitted to Matt that he still loved him and was distraught when Matt said he didn't feel the same way. Eventually, they made amends and became close friends again. Around the time Matt married me, Tony fell into a deep depression. That's when the trip started. Matt told me that initially he was just supporting Tony as a friend. But Tony broke down on one of the trips and confessed that he never stopped loving Matt and was lying about the trips to his wife because he felt guilty, also why he never told her about their history. He begged Matt to keep this a secret to protect their relationship. According to Matt, nothing physical ever happened between them. I pushed him on why Anna thought there was something going on, and Matt eventually admitted they were having an emotional affair. A few months ago, Anna overheard a phone call between Tony and Matt that made her suspicious, so she went through Tony's phone and confronted him about some things she found. No hard proof, but enough to make her uneasy. She told Tony she didn't want him hanging out with Matt anymore, but he did anyway until I accidentally ratted him out. My brother and sister-in-law have totally cut contact, so I don't have anyone to corroborate my husband's story. I still don't know how much of it I believe. If it's true, I don't know why Anna never told me anything. The whole thing sounds too ridiculous to be real, but for now it's all I have. Matt has apologized nonstop and wants to work through this, which I can't even think about right now. The past couple of weeks have been awful. Matt moved out. We both agreed that we need distance before making any decisions about our marriage, but I don't see us coming back from this. I don't think I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. The worst thing is I only have myself to blame for being so freaking naive and not seeing the massive red flags sooner, and for marrying my brother's ex in the first place. More than anything, I feel so incredibly guilty. This was not the ending I'd hoped for, but I'm grateful that I at least have some answers now. Honestly, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to directly confront this if not for my post here. So despite everything, maybe we can all think of this as somewhat of a happy ending. Thank you all for your comments and support.